What's up, everybody? Welcome to a very special Super Bowl edition of the Early Edge. As you can see, I'm back in DC. Katie Taylor in the chat, she says, I'm excited, but it's always a bittersweet day. That is oh so true. But don't worry, Katie, we got a lot coming on the Early Edge with respect to baseball and golf and basketball. A lot headed your way. Evans Wormold says, do I hang with my girlfriend's parents tonight or stay at home? That's a question we might have to answer for you later. What's up, Richard Pierre? What's up, Fantasy Life? What's up, everybody in the chat? Ladies and gentlemen, it's a special show. It's a special Super Bowl show. Check out the stars of the show. Let's go ahead and bring them in. I mean, if this isn't like the greatest cast ever, I don't know what is. We got Mike McClure. We got Meg Shoup. We got RJ White, Will Brinson, Danny Brasco, and Larry Hartstein. I don't even know where to start. Will, I'm going to start with you. You always bring the energy. How are you feeling about this day? We've got a lot of picks to get through. We're going to answer everybody's questions in the chat, so make sure you get those in there. But, Will, this is kind of, to Katie Taylor's point, it does feel a little bittersweet, does it not?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I feel like it's the culmination, right? So you get to the end of the season, you get this matchup. Personally, as someone who watched Carolina hit a game winner against Duke last night, I am petrified that Drake Maye is going to throw a last-second game-winning touchdown, and the Tar Heel fans are going to be flooding the world with these Drake Maye jerseys, and that's not great for me. That's not great for my life. So go Hawks, I guess. It would be how I'm feeling.
Larry, I don't have an official pick on the spread here. I see RJ likes something first half related to the Patriots, which we're going to get to all these picks. I think the Patriots are so much more alive than a lot of people do. What are your thoughts there?
Well, it's interesting, Sia, because so much of the money is on Seattle, yet the line has not moved even higher. I think maybe later today we might see some more 5s, 5.5s, because it's just been so one-sided. I mean, you talk to every book, you hear all the reports from the book directors. They are all going to be Patriots fans. They probably need, a small Seattle win would be good for them, where the Patriots cover, but don't win on the money line. But I don't know. I'm just curious if this is finally going to move after about a week or more of just sitting at 4.5.
Mike, you would know the answer to that question. We're how many hours? 8 hours away from kickoff approximately. Do we see this line moving at all? I feel like it's just going to sit at 4.5.
Yeah, I think it's mostly staying there. I mean, you may see a 5, not a huge, massive difference there, but yeah, it's interesting. I think, as Larry mentioned, the best outcome I think for a sports book would probably be Seattle by 2 or 3. Would be the ultimate outcome where they win everything essentially.
And Meg, your thoughts on the spread here? I know you don't have an official play, but if you had to take it, would it be the Patriots or would it be the other side of it?
Oh, I've already taken the Patriots and Patriots money line. So yeah, I actually like the Patriots to pull off an upset tonight. So
I saw your reaction, Brasco. Patriots money line. It's in play, right?
I think 4.5 is a little bit wide. I kind of feel like the Seahawks will win, but not cover. But I wanted to tell you guys about this. My buddy's running Super Bowl boxes this year, and he has a very unique structure in which it pays out every minute. There are 60 unique winners. And the guy that wins 0-0 typically tries to sell his box for a good deal of money right away, because you're in the money, barring a kickoff return or some crazy action in the first 60 seconds. My two friends decided to split a box, which we all made fun of them for. They got 0-0. So now I'm rooting for Rashid Shaheed kickoff return touchdown. I mean, come on, guys. That's unreal.
Brasco, I was going to say, I got a buddy who's got one that run out of Charleston, and it's pays every second. So every second that you're on the clock with your box, you rack up cash. So the 0-0 guy is just in hog heaven right now, because you're hoping for no points in this defensive Super Bowl.
Kids these days, this younger generation with their rapidly changing boxes. I mean, can we just keep it old school? RJ White, you like to keep it old school. Can I actually have you, RJ, give out the first pick, because it's Patriots related? And again, we're not going to get through everybody's picks like in one block necessarily. I'm going to circle back to other people's picks, and we're going to make this kind of more of a free-form show, which includes, of course, your questions and your picks in the chat. But RJ, kick us off with the Patriots first half.
Yeah, well, first of all, shout out Aunt Terry. You said younger generation. She runs one of the biggest squares pools I've ever seen with a bunch of different things, including a minutes one. Yeah, she's older than me, so she's not the youngest generation. So shout out Aunt Terry there. But yeah, my play is Patriots plus 3.5 in the first half. I love them on the plus 4.5 too, but laying minus 120 on the plus 3.5 in the first half. And I think it's going to be a slow starting game and really close. I think is very good odds here. Consensus is that Seattle's so much better than New England, and the game won't be close. But underdogs of 3.5 or more in the Super Bowl are 11-2 against the spread over the last 25 years, 7-6 straight up. So they take that nobody believes in us moniker and they go out and win the game more often than not. So in this situation with the New England defense playing at peak level, all they need to do is avoid bad turnovers, I think, from Drake Maye to stay in this game. So as long as he doesn't do that in the first half, I'm pretty sure they're going to be within 3 by halftime. So like them, we talked about it on Wednesday. Don't underrate the coaching advantage here. This is Mike Macdonald's first experience in this type of setting, while Mike Vrabel has went out and caught a touchdown in a Super Bowl before and been in plenty with the Patriots. So he knows kind of what to expect in this environment, and McDonald is going to have to be dealing with that for the first time. So like the full game number, love getting 3.5 on the first half even more.
Mike, I want to ask you about the first quarter, because I know we talked about this on some of our shows the last couple of weeks where, depending on where you look, the line's 7.5, 8.5. Not that it matters too much with respect to the first quarter between those two numbers, but I wanted to ask you on the total there, but also I'm looking at Patriots plus 0.5, and this kind of correlates with RJ's play to some degree, but Patriots plus 0.5 first quarter is in that minus 125 to minus 130 range. Would you consider the first quarter under or the Pats plus 0.5 first quarter?
First quarter under is definitely where I would go. That's one of my official picks here. We'll give that out. I like this game to start slow. I think a lot of people on this panel will tend to agree or lean that direction. I think both of these teams are phenomenal defensively. We know how good Seattle has been, but I think that the only reason the New England Patriots are in this game is because of how good their defense has been. And I think that they've got a decent little leg up on Seattle. I've talked about it at length over the last 2 weeks leading into this game. I think Seattle's got a pretty big weakness on the offensive line, the interior offensive line, which is where that more dangerous pass rush really comes from. And I think that that's going to be key. I also look at the Seattle team. As good as they've been offensively, they've been extremely conservative as well. They will kick the field goal. They will punt the football and play that field position battle, let the defense work. I think we get a slower mover here. I think that if we get a touchdown, it would be the only scoring action in that first quarter. So I think this one moves pretty quick. I think both teams are going to see what they've got in terms of being able to run the football. It probably won't be sustainable deep into the game, but I think it's what you get early here. So I would go under 7.5. You could play the 8.5 at minus 130 if you'd like. There's not a large difference in the first quarter of a game like this between 8.5 and 7.5. So I personally would be preferring the 7.5 side.
All right, let's stick with this theme, Danny Brasco, because we're looking at a lot of unders. First half is a consideration because I know that first half is 23.5. I think that number is still live. So I think that's really interesting. We can talk about that later if you want. But you like the game total under, Danny.
I do. I'm going full game. See, I believe that first half is down to 21.5 now, which is pretty significant. I still kind of like it at 21.5, but I played the full game mainly because simple logic here. 2 excellent defenses and 2 elite game managing coaches. These are masterminds here, especially Mike Vrabel. I can't recall him making a poor decision in a game in the last couple seasons. He's so on point. And really, it's the looks that Seattle and New England are going to give each other. You know, Sam Darnold and the Seahawks offense really thrive with their play action scheme, but the Patriots defense led the NFL in EPA per play, or EPA per dropback, I should say, against play action looks. So that's going to be really interesting. Of course, they're going to look to feed JSN, but I imagine Christian Gonzalez is going to look to just blanket him wherever he goes. If he lines up in the slot, if he lines up in the backfield where he did last game, Gonzalez is going to have to follow him everywhere. So maybe that could help limit him. And really, you know, Brinson said this on Friday, I believe. The total just feels a little bit inflated because it's the Super Bowl. You know, if things were equal, if this was the regular season, I think we might see like a 43.5 kind of total. I totally agreed with Brinson's sentiment there. You know, the Seahawks defense allowing 17 points per game this season, number 1 in DVOA in the whole NFL. I'm back in defense in the Super Bowl. Sia, give me the under at 45.5.
Yeah, I will say the 23.5s are still out there, which again, Mike, you can confirm a pretty key number, 23 and 24. However, the juice is it's not prohibitive, but the juice is pretty pretty high in that -130 to -140 range, under 23.5. Mike, you'd agree with the sentiment. Again, if I'm not asking you about the juice necessarily, but
Sure.
if you want to take the first half under, 23.5 would be certainly the ideal, because you're not going to find a 24.5, but 23.5 would be sort of the ideal spot, correct?
Yes, definitely. 23.5. We all kind of think points would be at a premium largely in this game. So yes, I think the value of 23.5 versus 21.5 or 22.5 is pretty significant.
All right, let's move on to some more picks here. Will, I want you to hit us with a couple of your picks. We talked about a couple of these on Friday's show, which, by the way, if you haven't listened to Friday's show, again, we have a podcast if you don't watch us live. The last 8 minutes of that show are not sports related at all. They are restaurant related. And I'm just telling you, just go to the podcast feed, just fast forward to like whatever, the last 8 minutes of the show, and just listen. I mean, it is brilliant. It's brilliantly dumb, but also brilliant at the same time. Just listen to that and just make sure you review and rate the Early Edge podcast. Will, let's talk about the quarterbacks here. You've got, and I know, Meg, I think you might have something with respect to Drake Maye as well. So we're going to get to that right after Will. But talk about the Sam Darnold under pass attempts. And then I want you to talk about Drake Maye rushing yards.
Yeah, I mean, I thought you were asking me about Chili's and TGI Fridays, but this works too. We can talk about quarterbacks. We did burn 97 different potential sponsors in the final 90 seconds of that.
But we might have attained a handful as well.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Buckets throughout some 3 different restaurants that no one had ever heard of. I would say, so for me, if you like the Seahawks in this game, and I do like the Seahawks, and I get the Patriots' love, I wouldn't be surprised at all if the Patriots won. I also think there is absolutely a world in which the Seahawks win in a blowout because Seahawks defense is so good. And if they score early, like they run some play action stuff and they get up 14-0, 17-0, whatever it is, and force Drake Maye into having to throw a bunch, I think they can blow out the Patriots. Vice versa. I think if the Patriots get up big early, they can force Sam Darnold to throw a bunch, and then these bets will be toast, and the Patriots can win the blowout. But if you believe the Seahawks are going to win big, and I do, then I think you can look at Sam Darnold under 29.5, or I think we have 29.5 passing attempts, because neither team is going to want their quarterback throwing the ball a bunch against these defenses. They're going to attempt to run the football. I don't think either will be particularly successful at it, but they're going to attempt to run the ball. They're going to attempt to win with defense. They're going to take the points when they can in terms of kicking. They're not going to go for it on a bunch of fourth downs. Maybe the Patriots will more than Seattle. Seattle, I think RJ pointed out on Wednesday's show on the network that, the Seahawks are bottom 5 in the league in terms of fourth down, going for it on fourth down. So I like Darnold under pass attempts. I think they will try to run the ball and win with defense. Maybe they throw early in the game, but I don't think they're going to have him throwing a lot. And then conversely, I like Drake Maye's over rush yards. And this is a pretty, square play because everyone's on it. But, I mean, Drake Maye runs the football so well. Whether it's with design runs, I think Josh McDaniels will have a couple of those, or it's scrambling when the Seahawks get pressure on him, which they will. Maye can take off and rip off a 20 or 30-yard run so quickly, and he's so good at avoiding contact. He's great. He's physical. He's fast, and he gets down. It doesn't take these big shots, especially with that shoulder not being 100%. I think we see Maye over rush yards hit. I mean, especially if the Seahawks have a lead. Those two are a little bit correlated in that sense where Sam Darnold is not throwing and Drake Maye is forced to throw. And the more he drops back, the more likely he is to scramble.
You know what's not correlated is my negative correlation plays, my NEV cores, which I'll give out later on in the show. Those are always unofficial plays, but I've got a few that you want to have your eye on, including the one that you gave out on Friday, Will Brinson with Rashid Shaheed. We're going to get there later. Meg, I want to go to your pick. Then Larry, I want you to go because you have a few picks, Larry, and you've got a couple, Meg. Larry, I want to go to your pick after Meg on the field goal one because I absolutely love that one. Then we're going to get into some Q&A because we got to cover some of these questions and comments in the chat, but we've got a lot more picks to get through after that. So there's a lot going on here, but Meg, I'd like you to talk about, because this correlates with the Drake Maye rushing yard total, I'd like you to talk about the longest rush for Drake Maye over 14.5 yards.
Yeah, well, obviously I like Will's pick, but I also wanted to approach it by the longest rush over 14.5, -110. A lot of data to support Will's pick and approaching it this way. Drake Maye has the highest scramble rate in the league on all dropbacks. And we've seen it continue this postseason. He scrambled 9 times for 125 yards. He had 2, massive rushing games in the wild card and the conference championship. He's 4th in scramble rate when pressured. Seahawks also are 28th in scrambling yards allowed. And Drake Maye led the NFL in scrambling rate against zone coverage this season. Now, Seahawks play a lot of zone. Usually we want to attack against man coverage, but Drake Maye has led the NFL in scramble rate against zone coverage. So a lot of data to support longest rush or Drake Maye's over rushing yards. Like I said, he soared over both the longest rush and his rushing prop in 2 of the 3 postseason games. And so I really like him to go for 15 or more. I also bet Maye to be the first player to reach 10 plus rushing yards at +400. The reason I approach that is we obviously know that both matchups for the running backs are going to be very difficult. A lot of people are on the unders for the running backs. So if it takes them a while to grind it out and Maye is able to scramble and reach 10 yards first, 4-1 feels really fun for that. So I like approaching Maye's rushing in a lot of different ways, basically.
All right. We like, and by the way, someone you work with, Meg, go ahead.
Can I add one more thing on just if you want to play a little, everybody who's looking for things to sprinkle too, Drake Maye, I think, is around +600 to lead the game in rushing. Mm-hmm. So if you do think that the running backs are going to get shut down a bit, Maye is going to go over his rush. +600 looks pretty juicy there to try to hit that rushing leader in the game.
Oh, that's interesting. Meg, I know your friend, I think my friend too, if I've got the name right, TD King is in the chat. You all work together. Yeah. And he was talking about the zone coverage that Seattle plays. And and it's a great point that he brings up. But I love how you addressed it, right? Mm-hmm. I think there's room to say, hey, actually, he could get there anyway. He says, oh, no, I'm going against my boss on the Maye rushing. Not good. Sorry, man. You'd love to see it. All right, let's go to some field goals. Larry, you've got a handful of picks. After we do this, we're going to get to some of the Q&A stuff. And then, we've got more picks to get to. But, Larry, we've talked about picks for 2 weeks, and you've got a handful. You've got a fun one that relates to the NBA and Jaylen Brown, which I think is really great. Talk to me about both teams to make a field goal of 33 yards plus.
Yeah, this is one we talked about earlier. And by the way, I think Meg would be a very good boss. I think she'd be very fair to work for. But, I think both teams are going to settle for the points because this points will be at a premium with 2 great defenses. And that's what we've seen throughout the season. I mean, Seattle especially kicks a ton of field goals. Both teams to make a field goal of 33 plus yards. This one has been climbing in terms of the juice up to -130 when we talked about it a few days ago. I haven't checked it lately, but I do think with the good conditions, even though it's outside and both kickers being pretty good. I mean, the misses from New England, 2 of them came in terrible weather. So both kickers highly efficient. So I love this prop. And then in terms of cross-sport props, you always have to have one cross-sport prop on Super Bowl Sunday. I think because that gets the sweat going early. And my sweat will start at 12:30 p.m. Eastern when the Knicks visit Boston. And the Knicks might not have OG. They might not have Josh Hart. They might not have Cat. All 3 guys are questionable. And that leads me to Jaylen Brown rebounds. This guy's been on an incredible rebounding tear. If you look at his last 9 games, he's averaging 9.4 rebounds per game, hitting double digits many times. And the Knicks in the last 3 games have given up 57 rebounds per game. That is such a high number. That would lead the league for the entire season. Now, this is not what they are for their entire season, but lately been giving up a ton of rebounds. And Vooch being there doesn't affect it too much because he is not, the typical center that's down there grabbing all the rebounds. So I like Jaylen Brown rebounds versus JSN catches. And I'm getting this, excuse me, Ben, you have the wrong one up on the screen. I just want to correct you. I'm going with Jaylen Brown at +115. Jackson Smith-Njigba receptions is the favorite at +105. I'm going with Jaylen Brown rebounds at +115. If you like it in a tie, it's +800. So I have to win the bet. I need Jaylen Brown to get 8 rebounds and JSN to finish with 7 catches, which is what I think a very likely scenario in this one. Both of them are lined at 6.5 with different juice. I think JSN probably finishes at 7. I don't think he's going to go off for 10 or 12 because of the Patriots. They have 3 very, very good top 30 corners to throw at JSN, and I think they might have 2 of those guys on him pretty much every play. So he'll probably get 6 or 7, but I think Jaylen Brown has a great chance to get 8 or 9 or maybe even 10, which is what he's done lately against the shorthanded Knicks.
If you have a cross-sport play, make sure you put it in the chat. Go ahead, Brasco.
How about that cross-sport analysis? That was some awesome handicapping, very unique market. And Larry, at first I was thinking to myself, plus money on both sides. Mike McClure is about to lay down the arbitrage bet and make money no matter what happens. But then you said the tie market is live there, which is really interesting. But I loved your breakdown on that. That's a fun one.
All right. Well, I'll tell you, speaking of markets, BetMGM has some markets that you're going to find a lot of interest in specific to the Super Bowl. Ladies and gentlemen, BetMGM is offering low vig prices for the big game. It's called Odds Flash, and it's available right now on the BetMGM app. Check out top spread prices for showdown between New England and Seattle. You'll find Odds Flash with BetMGM, and there's no better game than the big game to give it a try. We've got a lot of questions to get to, a lot of comments to get to. We got way more picks to get to. Oh, by the way, we have a 6-to-1 likes to watching ratio over on YouTube. That is not good. We do not want 6-to-1. We want like at least a 50% rate. Can I just be honest? I feel like people have sort of like just forgotten to do the like button, and it's been quite some time. We are not good at this anymore. We used to be really, really good at it. Let's get that like button while you're listening to this message from our partners.
When you need your sports news all the time,
we've got breaking news to bring to you.
CBS Sports HQ gives you a snapshot of all the sports that matter to you. When you need your sports in a snap, find it on CBS Sports HQ, streaming free anywhere you are.
We're back on the early edge, brought to you by BetMGM. RJ, Richard Pierre says, are we sticking with heads on the coin toss? Which is just a funny question that I said out loud. But more importantly, RJ, because this leads to your other official pick for this show, for this particular show, you have Mac Hollins over 24.5 receiving yards minus 110. And Big Calvin says, hey, RJ, what about Mac Hollins 3+ receptions? Can you address both right now?
We're sticking with heads. I mean, I did all the looking into it and talked to my sources and I think heads is performing well in practice leading up to the week. I think tails might have a little bit of a knee injury that it's dealing with. So I think heads is going to come through here. And then on Mac Hollins, I love Mac Hollins. I think he's completely mispriced. Take the over on receptions, take everything you want to on Mac Hollins. Larry mentioned his crossport prop. I actually had that exact one in that 60 picks for Super Bowl 60 article we talked about. My other one was Mac Hollins related. Mac Hollins receiving yards over Kawhi Leonard points against the Timberwolves. So, I'm looking for any way I can get to at Mac Hollins in this game. He's been a go-to option for Drake Maye in tougher matchups. 8 to 10 targets against the Bills and Ravens at the end of the year. Had 17 targets combined in those 2 games, which were back-to-back. Had 10 targets against the Bucks. Had 7 targets against the tough Browns defense. Missed time on the IR. Came back for the AFC Championship. Got 51 of Maye's 86 pass yards in that snow game. Going to be healthier with this bye week. He has outproduced Stephon Diggs in several of those games in those big spots. I just think that Drake Maye trusts him, and he can end up being New England's #1 receiver at a steep odds discount in this game. So I have him over 24.5 receiving yards. I have him laddered up to 40, 50, 60, as high as you want to go. I have a 300 to $1 bet on our Wednesday show for him to be the MVP. Like, I'm just finding any value bet I can to get on Mac Hollins in this game.
Brasco, you'll like this. Mac Hollins is my first negative correlated play. So I think he's probably going to get to 3+ receptions, but I just want to point out that, again, 1 of 3, I'll give out 2 more before this show is out. If you take his under 2.5 receptions and you take 40+, that's an alt line, of course, 40+ receiving yards, and you just sprinkle in a touchdown. I say sprinkle in a touchdown like it's super easy. It's 46 to 1. Again, you can mess with that however you want. You can go to 25+ yards, or you can go to 50+, and then all of a sudden that's going to go from probably 46 to 75 or something. But I do think Mac Hollins is in play for an anytime touchdown, and I also think that the 40+ is very achievable. The 2.5, I think, is where we might have a problem if Mac Hollins is involved as much as RJ thinks he is. We have another question from Evan. In terms of a first touchdown score. Now, Meg, I believe you have an anytime touchdown score on Hunter Henry. Do you want to double down on a first touchdown score?
I do. Do you want me to discuss Hunter Henry now and why I like him so much? Yes. So I have bet Hunter Henry anytime touchdown plus 250. 33% of the red zone targets for the Patriots go to Hunter Henry, which was the most of any tight end this season. Henry, of course, led all Patriots pass catchers with 7 touchdowns in the regular season, 1 in the postseason. And tight ends account for 20% of the receptions against the Seahawks. That's where you want to target. We know the Seahawks are such a great defense. Of all the skill position players, I think Henry has the best matchup. So I love getting this price on this opportunity of I think the pass catcher that has one of the best matchups. Also, of course, Nick Amamori, excuse me if I did not pronounce that perfectly correct, obviously is playing, but likely playing, probably playing a little bit banged up. So I just like attacking the middle of the field against the Seahawks. So again, it's especially the fact of the red zone targets that Henry has had this year. I don't think a ton of touchdowns are getting scored tonight, but I like Hunter Henry plus 250. And yes, I have already sprinkled on him for the first touchdown as well.
Well, maybe we'll go around the horn before the show is out and talk about first touchdown scores. That seems perfectly appropriate. But Larry, the next appropriate thing to do is ask you about Hunter Henry, because one of your plays is Hunter Henry related.
Yeah, I love that play from Meg, because the Seahawks give up the highest target share to opposing tight ends. And I don't think Drake Maye is going to force the ball. He is going to find the open guy. And the Seahawks, that's where they funnel the passes. They funnel them to the tight end. And Hunter Henry, when they get in the red zone, 25% target share, first read target share of 14%. Both of those lead the Patriots. I played him over on catches. I know Tom liked him over on yards. I just think this is going to be a big Hunter Henry game, especially if you look at Hunter Henry. He is so matchup dependent. He's one of those guys where he has faced 3 other defenses like the Seahawks who funnel a lot of targets to tight ends, and he has gone off for at least 5 catches in those games. One of them had 7, one of them had 8, and then he's also had some duds where he gets nothing. But this is an opponent that he should feast.
Yeah, the matchup is impressive here. So we're big on Hunter Henry here. Mike, you've got an interesting play that I know RJ likes as well, because we talked about it on the prop show, but I know you both have been talking about this for really since lines came out. Talk to me about Sam Darnold, not his passing yards, not his passing touchdowns, not completions, not attempts, rushing attempts.
Rushing attempts, Sam Darnold, over 2.5 plus 112. Look, I think that he's going to have the opportunity here. I know that we have kind of had spots in his career where we've essentially watched him play well. The other half of his career, we've essentially made memes about the guy. I think that he is obviously extremely motivated to play in this game. I think he's more than capable of taking off and running in the most important game of his life. I think that the Patriots will be able to generate that interior pass rush, which is where quarterback rushing attempts that are not designed runs, that's where they are coming from. I think that could happen here in this particular spot, especially where they don't have all the depth that they may want in the backfield. I think it's going to be extremely clear how New England wants to defend this. I think he'll take off and run at least once or twice. And then you have to account for the fact that they are a 4.5 to 5 point favorite. And general consensus is they're the better team that's winning this game. And if that is true, and you trust the market to be efficient in that spot, I think you have to consider the fact that he's likely to get 1 or 2 kneel downs, potentially a third. So I like this number here. I don't think we should be catching plus 112 on a third rushing attempt for Sam Darnold, keeping in mind that one of those plays where he's getting sacked can become a rushing attempt with a half-yard gain, right? So I think that this number should be sitting at 3.5, not 2.5.
Fair enough.
Hey, let's not forget, by the way, at one point when he was with the Panthers, it was 5 weeks into the season, Sam Darnold led the league in rushing touchdowns. He was the rushing touchdown leader 5 weeks into the season. So yeah, I mean, he's a sneaky athletic, that Sam Darnold.
Larry, did you have follow-up there? Oh, okay.
I got 1, 3+ rushes in 6 of the last 7. So he has been running already and he's been picking up rush attempts. So even you pile on top of the biggest game of his career, like Mike said, that could stretch out to 4 or 5. So I agree with him. The number should be 3.5.
And you get kneel downs too. Always get kneel downs if they're winning the game at the end.
That's right. That's right. Hey, RJ, and actually this is really up a lot of people's alley, but RJ, you did the 60 picks, which people can still find, by the way. 60 picks for Super Bowl 60. By any chance, did you have this one on it from Scott Sneed? He says, number of players to have a pass attempt over 2.5 at plus 155. Mike, I'm going to go to you next on this, but RJ, go.
Yeah, I did not take that this year. I thought about it. I think it's going to be more of a defensive game, not offensive coordinators in their bag, going all out there. Maybe Kubiak will do that, thinking he's going to the Raiders anyway. He's just going to try one of those plays with somebody throwing it. Cooper Kupp did have a pass attempt earlier in the season. It was picked off. So maybe that's a sense that you don't want to do that. But yeah, so I think, I might be on the table, but I don't think it's going to happen. I didn't like the value on going over this year. So they usually play it. I didn't this year.
Mike?
Cooper Kupp, by the way, posted an Instagram photo of him attempting, like, in practice, throwing a pass, which is like a little too obvious, right?
Something you definitely do when
like,
you're planning to do that. Yeah.
yeah, right, exactly.
Mike,
I would say that the number, it opened around plus 210. At that point, I think that there was a little bit of value on it. Now I think it's pretty close to fair. I mean, it's a highly speculative market. The thing that I would offer to that is, there are definitely situations where there could be a fake punt. There's desperation situations if a team falls behind. There's the injury factor. There's all sorts of potential for it. So in a game like this, where you've had all the additional time to prepare for it, team wise, and just the stakes of the game, I don't hate leaning into it. But admitting that you did kind of miss the best of the number when it opened north of plus 200.
We did mention Cooper Kupp and throwing the ball, throwing picks, if you will. How about catching passes? Danny Brasco, I know Meg talked about this on, I think it was the Thursday show on the Early Edge. You also like Cooper Kupp over 3.5 receptions at pretty good plus money. Talk to me.
Yeah, first of all, shout out to Meg. She got plus 145 I saw up on the site. I'm looking at plus 124 and thrilled to get a plus money tag on it. So great line from Meg. But this guy has played in 12 playoff games. He has 4+ catches in 11 of them. The one game, his lone miss, was in a 27-9 blowout win in the divisional round against the Vikings, where the Rams defense just dominated Sam Darnold, and they didn't need his services. But Cooper Kupp's so reliable. He's the 2021 Super Bowl MVP. I mean, this guy has been around. He's a playoff vet. And I talked before about Christian Gonzalez probably blanketing Jackson Smith and Jigba. I think that's going to open up Cooper Kupp underneath, and Darnold not looking to force things, not looking to turn the ball over. If he's feeling pressure, especially from Milton Williams up the middle, I think he'll check down underneath to a very reliable route runner. This guy's also seeing increased volume later in the season. Maybe he was saving his legs for this moment. The last 2 games in the postseason, he had 5 catches on 5 targets, 4 catches on 6 targets. He's hitting this number. The volume's there, and we know who Cooper Kupp is in these moments. So I'm going to take the old vet to get involved in this game. I think he gets a 4th catch and cashes us a nice plus money ticket, Sia.
Yeah, I like this. And I mentioned when Meg gave it out on Thursday that I like, if you want to do like some SGPs, the 3+, throwing that in there, it's juicy, which is why I'm even talking about it in the context of SGPs. I just like throwing that in because, by the way, so you mentioned the last 2 games with Cooper Kupp where we had really good efficiency and pretty good volume on 11 targets. He caught 9 of them, including a touchdown last week. But what's interesting about that stat, and I think it's pretty clear, by the way, in high leverage situations, we see Sam Darnold looking at Cooper Kupp. Maybe if JSN is bracketed or, whatever the case may be, big third downs, big red zone possessions. Cooper Kupp is somebody that obviously Sam Darnold is looking at. But what's interesting about that stat in terms of the 9 receptions on 11 targets is one of those games was the 41-6 beatdown of the 49ers where they didn't even need to throw that much. If that 49ers offense was clicking, and if that game started out a little bit differently, we could be talking about Cooper Kupp instead of 9 catches on 11 targets. We could be talking about like 15 targets, 14 targets, and 10 catches. So I don't think that's outside the realm of possibility. Meg, any follow-up here?
I was just going to say, if you want to go to 5+, I think it's like plus 255. It really jumps up incrementally if you wanted to. If Ben wants to throw the ladder up, you could do it. I think it would have to be the game script where the Seahawks are maybe playing from behind. But I think he's the trusted bet. And if you want to ladder it, you can get some really nice plus money at 5+ or 6+.
Is there any feeling of concern from anyone that this line is bait? Like, I don't understand why they'd give us the plus money on the 4th catch for something that just continues to happen. Are we getting dangled right now with the bait?
Yeah, I think it's low
Go ahead,
volume,
RJ.
but I would say if you're going to play that 5+, like find a Patriots money line or Patriots first half, some way to even maximize it even more. Because in a game where the Seahawks in Will's scenario, where they're at 14-0 or 17-0, where he went out on a ledge and said, I think there's a good chance they blow him out if they get to 17-0, which I would agree with. But if it's not that scenario, if it's the other way around, Patriots are winning, that's when Kupp does his damage. So I think you're getting even better numbers there.
RJ, I agree. Mike, you'd agree that there's a good live betting opportunity for Cooper Kupp if Seattle finds themselves down early.
Yeah, definitely. If it's not, that doesn't have to be down. I would just say neutral. If they're neutral, even at the end of the first quarter, like if they're neutral at the end of the first quarter and you get the situation where they got the ball first, for example, and you're getting the extra possession with New England, then yeah, I would start to look at it pretty heavily at that point. And then the other way, essentially, if you've got the ability to take live unders, if it gets out of hand early at all.
Larry, go ahead.
And two things that are working for Cooper Kupp is, I think it's been a while since we've had a number one receiver like this, where basically you need to focus all your attention just to slow him down. And even if you do it, it might not work. But to play opposite that guy is a huge advantage for Cooper Kupp. And also just the eye test. He looks fresh. He doesn't look like we saw him, earlier in the season where he looked a little bit washed and maybe it was over for him. He looks fresh, especially in that Rams game, drawing that penalty at the end. Looked really quick.
Yeah, Cooper Kupp over 3.5 receptions at plus money seems very solid. TD King says Kupp under 10.5 first reception he likes. I like that a lot too. And speaking of first receptions or first quarters, I mean, I almost brought this as an official play, and I've mentioned it as a piece in an SGP. I really like Stephon Diggs over. Now, again, you can include this in an SGP at 5+, but Stephon Diggs over 5.5 first quarter receiving yards is in the normal rate, like -114, -115 range. I think 5+, the juice gets a little bit higher, obviously, but I really like Stephon Diggs to get involved early, at least in the short area to medium area passing game. Of course, he has to actually catch the ball. You can't just get a target and you catch the bet. He has to actually catch it. But I wouldn't be surprised at all if we see him get a couple of catches in the first couple of drives. So something to look out for, something I'm going to be including in some SGPs. Let's see. I want to get some more questions, Will, but why don't you hit us with Kenneth Walker receiving yards over?
Yeah, I mean, so I think Kenneth Walker and RJ and I were on two different sides of this. I think you can go receiving yards, you can go receptions. I think both are pretty good. If you look at what the Seahawks have done, particularly since Zach Charbonnet got hurt, obviously small sample size there, but they love using Kenneth Walker in the screen game, the short passing game, because he is so explosive after the catch, his yards after catch. And New England's great at stopping that. Don't get me wrong. I mean, I think they'll flock the ball, but Walker, even if you get contact on him, he still busts through it and picks up that yardage. So I would expect, again, we talk about these quarterbacks, we talk about these defenses. These offensive coordinators, Clint Kubiak and Josh McDaniels, are going to do as much as they can to alleviate the pressure on those quarterbacks. And there's nothing that really gets a pass rush back quite like a screen to a running back who can pick up big yardage after the play. And I think Walker is extremely live to I think it's over 2.5 receptions I like, and over what do we have? 21.5 receiving yards. I think 21, the receiving yards in particular, he can catch one pass on a screen and take that 25 yards pretty quickly. He's so elusive, so explosive. He's a home run hitter. Travion Henderson gets all the talk about the big plays, but Kenneth Walker is, and has been, frankly, since not even his Michigan State days, since his Wake Forest days, has been a big play guy. And I think this is a great spot where you'll see Sam Darnold throw to him in the short yardage stuff, and he'll pick up the yards after catch. So I really like his over receiving yards and receptions.
Meg, go ahead.
This was the other play that I had on Early Edge on Thursday. So I feel really good that I'm lockstep with the team, number one. But yeah, 11.1 yards per reception in the playoffs. Just to Will's point, super explosive. So I absolutely love this. And I laddered it personally to 30.
We still have, believe it or not, a lot more picks to get to. And your questions, Brasco, go ahead.
I was just going to say, you got to take away some of that interior pressure from Milton Williams. If he's causing a lot of havoc up the middle, I would pull the rug on him, right? Just let him come right through, dump the screen off, and see if that really, works against them. So I like the play there stylistically as well.
Yeah, I mean, he's going to have to get rid of the ball pretty quickly, I'm guessing here, because I don't think he's seen, especially in the playoffs, he hasn't seen interior pressure like this. I mean, the Rams have a pass rush, but it's not going to be right in his face. I mean, if you looked at last week against the Rams, he was going through on a lot of these downs. He was going through all of his progressions, looking left to middle to right, and then slinging it to his third or fourth read. So I just don't think that's going to happen necessarily against the Patriots. It's part of the reason I like the Patriots to potentially win and cover in this game. Mike, go ahead.
Yeah, if you like the Patriots to potentially win, potentially cover, one prop that I am considering is an alt line on Travion Henderson at 30 yards. The 30-yard mark is plus 210 currently for Travion to have 30 yards. I do still think that he is explosive enough to have, 10, 15-yard run. He's had numerous runs of, 60, 70 yards on the season already. I would speculate that some of the rushing attempts that he lost in the last two playoff games were more so due to opponent and weather and some of those things. Cleaner conditions here, more time to prepare. I think he's worked back in just a little bit, but the line has come down. He's at 18.5 on his normal line, and 30, again, plus 210 on 30 was, baseline for him most of the season was in the 50s. So I think that this is an interesting spot to play Henderson. You can do it on laddering on attempts if you want. But yeah, catching plus 210 on 30 yards, something that's obtainable on 2 to 3 carries, is interesting.
Will, this is a perfect time to talk about your most rushing yards in the game prop.
Yeah, I mean, I would say on the Henderson thing, to Mike's point, like I sort of thought when we got to the playoffs, we might see the Patriots shift towards more Henderson because he's so explosive. But the matchups they had, and the conditions really do lend themselves to Ramondre Stevenson grinding it out. Feed him. Henderson 19-1 most rushing yards in this game. Like he can hit most rushing yards in this game on one play. Like he could rip off one long touchdown run or even like 1 60-yard where I don't think he'll get caught if he gets in the open field. But like Henderson and Rashid Shaheed to me are the two guys in this game where they're explosive single play difference makers, and you have two great defenses. You have two, like the defenses are going to key in on the primary guys, whether it's JSN, Diggs, all these guys. Henderson and Shaheed just are so explosive in these single play opportunities that I think you're gonna see a limited number of rushing yards on both sides of the ball. And Henderson at 19-1, I love for most rushing yards as sort of a long shot there.
All right. RJ, I want to get to Jay Long's question. And again, we still have a couple more official picks to get through. But one of the things you discussed this probably on the NFL Picks Show, certainly on the Prop Show, which again, everybody can go watch still or listen in your podcast feed with me, RJ, and Dave on Friday. But one of the things we discussed from your 60 and 60 article was the second half being the highest scoring half. And again, I'd like you to remind us if this is available, if you think this is available at all the major books. But I asked that to say this. Jay Long says first half under, which we know we like, and second half over. I don't mind that at all. But what I like even better, RJ, is your second half to have just more points than the first half play.
Yeah, it was minus 115 when we looked at about it. I've talked about expecting a slower start to the game. This is the easiest way to back that opinion. I think there's a better chance of defensive touchdowns in the second half as the team that gets behind gets more aggressive, trying to go downfield and catch up in this game. If it's not a one-score game, and that would help this prop cash even more because you get 7 the other way. You're never going to get a guy laying down in the Super Bowl, right? Even if the game is secure, they're going to go get that touchdown for the Super Bowl and put that moment in their memories for all time. So I think that there's more scoring potential in the second half. Obviously, this correlates with me liking the first touchdown is scored in the second quarter, which I believe was like plus 230. I think Mike likes that as well because he was touting that under in the first quarter. We might get 2 field goals, might get a touchdown. I think he doesn't think we're going to get anything else besides that. But I think that's pretty decent price to get the second quarter being when you score the first touchdown. I'd be interested to hear what Mike thinks about that one.
Yeah, Mike, and well, Brasco, I'm going to go to you first, and then Mike. But what's interesting about what you said about the second half, teams opening it up against good defenses, what does that mean? That means opportunistic defenses creating short fields or scoring themselves, which is part of the reason I love that second half. Brasco, go ahead.
Jay Long, I just bet that. I got plus 248. Let's ride, bro.
I love it. Mike, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I certainly lean that way. I think that we are scoreless on the touchdown category in the first half here. Now, I will give you, or not in the first half, in the first quarter. I'll give you another one that I think is still crazily showing value is this. It's on the opposite side. It's an over. It would at least correlate to likely an over in the first half. New England first half team touchdowns over 1.5 is very, I mean, it's a better price point than them winning the game on the money line. And I think that for them to win the game on the money line, they may have to score 2 touchdowns in the first half. So I would consider an alternate angle there. And I know it sounds weird to say I want to play the under in the first quarter, the under in the first half, 2 touchdowns on New England's side. Both of those bets can still show a positive expected value. I think it's an interesting number. Some of those, when you get a lot of consensus on one side, like the Seattle side, some of those other markets tend to inflate a little bit. And that's one that I think certainly has. I'll put the price point that I found again in the chat on it just to confirm it.
Larry, I want to get to your George Holani play, which I will in a second. Meg, I want to ask you about, since you have the first touchdown on Hunter Henry and an anytime touchdown, Evan is talking about an A.J. Barner first touchdown. I bring that up to bring this up. We haven't really discussed A.J. Barner or JSN in terms of their receiving yards. I mean, A.J. Barner is in that 24 to 25.5 range. And as you might expect, JSN in the low 90s, anywhere between 91 and 93. Do you have any lean one way or the other on either of those two passes? We talk a lot about Cooper Kupp, but we haven't really mentioned JSN or A.J. Barner.
I don't have a play on either. I don't mind including JSN receptions in, like, if you want to do some kind of parlay, whether you want to do 7, you do get plus money at 8 receptions, but I'm not going to go yards with JSN. And I don't have a confident enough lean on Barner to have a stand on touchdown, though he does get the tush push. It's not like that happens as frequently as some other teams, but he is their tush push guy. So you could look at it that way, but I don't really have a strong lean on Barner. So I haven't made any bets on him.
Brasco, you had something there.
I did not see, at least in my New York books, the Barner rush yards on the board anymore. And I saw a couple people on SportsLine put that out. For half a rush yard, I believe he was plus 114. All we need was one tush push, really. And I don't see it listed anymore. So perhaps you guys are onto it.
Well, what's interesting, though, is the A.J. Barner anytime touchdown. So here's the thing. Speaking of negative correlation, if you don't think A.J. Barner is going to get a ton of volume, but you think he can get a tush push, much like you might think, and Will, we're going to get to your negative correlated play with Rashid Shaheed, where he could get an end around and because of that, get a touchdown or a kickoff return, things of that nature. I think A.J. Barner under receptions, maybe over yards, and an anytime touchdown would actually make sense because he can get that touchdown without actually catching a pass. We'll get to negative correlation in a little bit, but Larry, talk to me about, speaking of pass catchers for the Seattle Seahawks, George Holani.
Yeah, George Holani earned a lot of praise for coming off the IR, being ready to go, and he's just a better pass protector than Kenneth Walker. He got 34% of the snaps. He was in there on the 2-minute drill, ended up catching 3 passes on 4 targets, and he ran one more route than Kenneth Walker. So I think he's going to be out there again, maybe 1/3 of the time. 2-minute drill, obvious third and passing situations. And with the decent, Patriots pass rush, you could see another, few dump offs to George Holani. So I like this. Anything minus 140 or less, I'm willing to bet on Holani 2 catches.
All right, we're on George Holani. I want to get to some more questions in the chat, but I haven't given out my prop yet. I mean, I gave it out last, Wednesday or Thursday. It's Drake Maye over 19.5 completions. Part of the reason I'm playing this is because the number is just low. I mean, if you bet completions props, you know that for a good quarterback, you're usually looking at, and again, every offense has different passing volume, but it wouldn't have surprised me, let's put it this way, if this was 20.5 at like minus 110. So I do think we're getting value at the 19.5. I also looked at his attempts at 30.5, and I like the over there as well. And the bottom line is, two things. One, the Patriots haven't really been pressed by offenses this entire year. So if you're box score chasing, you're probably not going to like this prop very much. But I do think Seattle is going to force the Patriots to kind of have their offense, I guess, kind of in gear for 4 quarters. But more importantly, if you're Josh McDaniels and you've got 2 weeks to game plan here, I mean, I think you have to change things up. I don't think you can say, hey, Drake Maye, do the hero ball thing and hold on to the ball too long and throw it downfield against, of all defenses, this defense that likes to protect against the big play. I think if you're game planning for this game, you're game planning for not to run it up the middle with Ramondre Stevenson with some inefficient running against this rush defense, but peppering the short area with guys like Hunter Henry, with guys like Stephon Diggs, maybe some Austin Hooper in there. Obviously, we can name all the receivers, Mac Hollins, Kayshon Boutte, Kyle Williams, Demario Douglas. We can go down the list. But those short area guys, I do think are going to get peppered. And again, you got Josh McDaniels with 2 weeks. I don't think the game plan is what it has been against some of these bottom feeder teams that New England has been playing. Not in the playoffs necessarily, but certainly in the regular season. So give me Drake Maye over 19.5 completions. Let's get to a negative correlated play because this is the last sort of official play. We'll get to some more questions. And well, we don't need to spend a lot of time on this because we spent a lot of time on it on Friday, but talk to me about Rashid Shaheed.
Sorry, I'm laughing at the Brinson sucks merch in the chat going on in the chat. Shout out to the Brinson sucks hats. There's like 600 of them in the office in Fort Lauderdale. If you want to buy one, they're on eBay too. But yeah, look, so I think Rashid Shaheed. I mentioned when I talk about Travion Henderson, the explosive plays. We saw against the Rams very early in that game. I think I had either over receiving yards or over longest reception as a play on the show last week. And they got there real quick. And Rashid Shaheed is someone who's played for Clint Kubiak on multiple teams. He is an explosive playmaker. This is the Super Bowl. They are going to dial up a couple of looks deep down the field for him. But we talk about the Cooper Kupp over receptions. We like JSN to be a focal point. Of course, AJ Barner there as well. Rashid Shaheed's probably not going to catch 5 passes. He's probably not going to catch 2 passes, but he's definitely going to get targeted down the field at least twice in this game. A likelihood to play action stuff. So I like over 40 receiving yards coupled with under 1.5 receptions. That gets you to 55-1. And Sia correctly pointed out on Friday's show that if you're going to do that, at least tack on a Rashid Shaheed anytime touchdown in that negatively correlated parlay, because you can get the 1 reception down the field for 45 yards, and then you can get him scoring on a punt return. Or I think it's very likely Rashid Shaheed gets some rushing attempts in this game, because you're just going to see him, especially maybe you get down by the goal line. The Patriots are so good against a run. And yes, Seattle can run the ball effectively, but I think that's a great spot to run a little jet sweeps action with Shaheed. Hopefully it doesn't count as a reception for our parlay purposes. But I think Shaheed is someone who is going to get looks, probably catch 1 of them, maybe not catch 2 of them. And when he catches that 1 pass, it's going to be over 40 yards.
Yeah. And by the way, I don't know if you said the number, but when we were,
it's like 150 to 1 or something like that.
190 to 1. So if you want to throw in the anytime touchdown on that Shaheed play, I'm just throwing it out there. And we're all betting responsibly here, which means we're trying to have some fun. We're putting like $2 on something like this. Not even like 10, but I'm just saying it's 190 to 1 if you want to sprinkle the anytime touchdown there. The other negative correlated plays, now I did mention Mac Hollins when RJ was talking about him. That was 46 to 1. Mentioned Shaheed 190 to 1. The other one that I'll mention at 41 to 1 is Kayshon Boutte. Again, it's the same exact thing. We're talking 40 plus, under 2.5 receptions, and then we're sprinkling an anytime touchdown. That's 41 to 1. So I'm going to sprinkle on all 3 of the ones we talked about. I might even sprinkle on AJ Barner because I kind of like that one as well. Although with AJ, I'm not going to 40 plus. That one will just be 25 plus under his receptions and an anytime touchdown. We've got about 5.
Now,
go ahead.
See, it would be remiss if we didn't point out that if you're going to do this, I mean, at least put $1 on Kayshon Boutte under 2.5 receptions, Rashid Shaheed under 1.5 receptions, and both of them to get to 40 yards. You get a double negative correlation parlay at 650 to 1. Just $1. Just $1.
I don't know. Maybe make 10 cents. Maybe I don't know. Hey, Mike, go ahead.
To be fair to Brinson on that play, it's actually at that point, if one of them hits, it's not quite as negatively correlated between the two, because if one of them hits and they score a touchdown deep, it's likely increasing the probability that the other team has to throw and take a deep shot.
Fair, yes.
So yeah, it's actually it's a weird situation.
The odds get a little bit lower than they should be, like if you don't take them individually, right?
Two negative correlated things, put them together, they're positive correlated.
That's math. It's math.
How is it not cash? Thank you, RJ. You put it all together. Larry, we got about 5 or 10 more minutes here. So if you have any other plays or questions, get them in the chat now. Larry, there are a lot of questions about defensive players. Even people are asking, hey, but how about a defensive MVP, which we know that generally doesn't happen. But if it was going to happen, this might be the game for it to happen. Any props or defensive MVPs that you considered over the last 2 weeks?
Well, I was on Eman Worry, over his tackles. I thought he had an outside chance to win MVP, but then obviously the ankle injury has tempered a lot of my enthusiasm. I do think Byron Murphy and Milton Williams are live to get half a sack or even a full sack. But I did want to go back to Booty because one look I like, if I can get more reasonable juice, is under 2.5 catches for the game straight, just because his ADOT is so deep, 17 yards down the field. And the way Seattle plays, they want you to take the short one. They want to come up and tackle you. And I don't think Drake Maye is going to force the ball. He's got a lot of different guys, tight ends, running backs, many receivers that he can throw it to. So yeah, they'll take a couple deep shots for Booty, but I think under 2.5 catches is a great look just based on that too high safety deep look that Seattle protects against.
Absolutely. And I think that feeds nicely into my Drake Maye completions prop as well. Meg, go ahead.
Sure. I love both your guys' negative correlation, and I love that you all the ones that you've done this season, Sia. But another way to approach like an anti-correlated parlay is if you'd like some overs, and I think a lot of us like the game under, you can also approach it that way. I personally obviously like some Seattle overs, and I like the Patriots to win. You can also do that because you just get a big boost if you're hitting a couple Seattle overs, but the Patriots money line, or just any overs that you like. Say you have like 4 overs that you like, and then the under or an alt under, even you can get a big boost on that. So that's something that I've been doing in the SGP streets.
Okay, I think before we get out of here, we have to do like final score predictions. So we're going to go around the horn and do that. And I will certainly look at the chat to see if we have any Hail Mary, last second questions here. By the way, we've got so many people watching. If you're new you just kind of stumbled in, you were on YouTube, you were looking for content, just make sure, thank you for being here, by the way, but make sure you're subscribed to the SportsLine YouTube channel. We do the Early Edge every Monday through Friday at 10 o'clock. We have a lot of special shows too. And as we approach March Madness and MLB season, you're going to see a lot of special shows popping up, of course. So make sure you are subscribed to SportsLine. And if you're listening to the audio version of this, make sure you're also, of course, following on Spotify, Apple, or wherever you get your podcasts. Larry, unfortunately for you, I'm starting with you on a final score prediction, and we're going to go in clockwise fashion. Mike, you're going to close this out here. Larry, what's the final score?
Seattle 23, New England 16.
Interesting. Do you have a first touchdown score, by the way? You don't have to have the odds. Like, who comes to mind?
I mean, I've been toying with Seattle defense at 30-1, Shaheed, because they took that deep shot that could have been a touchdown on the first completion last time, but it was a little underthrown. He has 3 return TDs. I don't think New England is going to do what the Rams did and kick it into the end zone every time and let them start at the 35. I think he will get his chances.
All right. By the way, Daniel Greer in the chat, and I bring this up now because, Larry, you had the field goal prop that I think everybody loves, the 33+ by each team. He says Seahawks longest field goal -110 from Myers because he's familiar with Levi Stadium, and Andy has been inconsistent plus not long. So that's an interesting take there, and I think that's a pretty good number, -110. All right, Danny Brasco, give us a final score, and if you have a name that comes to mind for a first touchdown score, go ahead.
Well, first name that comes to mind, we were talking about him, is Nick Emanwari, who was robbed of Defensive Rookie of the Year. I'll go first TD score, AJ Barner, tush push maybe. And I'll go Seahawks 24-20. Patriots cover the spread by the hook, but Seattle is champion. And Sia, if you could come back to me at the end, I have something to say about you, my friend, if I may.
Oh, absolutely. I love that. Will Brinson, go ahead.
Yeah, I'll go 24-17. Seattle wins. I do think if you're sprinkling on defensive players to win Super Bowl MVP, and I realize I just picked Seattle, but Milton Williams at 200-1, man. I mean, he can take over a game, and this is one of those games where if it is a super defensive matchup, you're going to the people who vote for the MVP are going to be looking to reward someone on the winning side. I think even Worry and Milton Williams both make sense as long shot MVPs.
If the Patriots win, I think it's because the defensive tackles win the line of scrimmage and just make Sam Darnold, I hate to just torture the metaphor, but see ghosts, because I really think that's where this game turns if they can get some pressure up the middle, which I think they will. RJ, final score and a first touchdown score.
So you can bet position of first touchdown as well. I like defensive special teams there at 12-1. These teams have scored 122 touchdowns this season, regular season and playoffs. 13 of them have been defensive or special teams touchdowns. That's better than 10%. It's really the only number in that prop that you're getting, positive value on. Everything else is terrible in that prop. So I would just take all the defenses. You're going to get the chance on the opening kickoff of the game to win that. You're also going to get the chance on every single play, whereas, one guy has the ball for the most part on the offensive side. So I like taking that one. My final score is going to be 19-17 Patriots. I don't think it's going to be a ton of field goals. I think this is going to be one of those rare situations where the books take a bath because safety is going to hit, and you're going to have to pay out that safety prop because Sam Darnold is either going to get sacked in the end zone or fumble it out the back of the end zone or do something ridiculous, or a holding call. I think Seattle's offensive line, especially on the interior, is going to have trouble with that Patriots defensive line. So yeah, I think get a safety in this game, get Patriots win 19-17. That's the difference.
Meg, I like your reaction was exactly what my reaction was when he dropped that stat on the defensive touchdown. We were both like, oh, interesting. Meg, what do you got for a final score? And what do you got for a first touchdown score?
I'll be making that bet right after.
Yeah.
So that's why I was, love that look. Of course, like Hunter Henry first touchdown. And I had to sprinkle on Austin Hooper because if I see 81, I believe, instead of 85 get up and celebrate a first touchdown, I'd have a major tilt fest. So I will be sprinkling Austin Hooper, but Hunter Henry is my official first touchdown play. I've got, and I think I mentioned this on a show earlier in the week, I believe this is a scoregami too and hasn't happened yet. Very similar to RJ. I've got 19-16 Patriots win. I believe it's a score. I believe it is a unique score. I think if I did my research correctly. So I'm going to go 19-16 defense field goal, fest battle here. Patriots win.
Okay, I was actually going to say Austin Hooper. So you just took that from me. So
I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
No, that's okay. No, but by the way, that's 50-1. So if you want that backup tight end first touchdown thing is a thing. So Austin Hooper at 51, I don't hate it all. I'm going to go with, just to change my answer here, I'll go to Mac Hollins, who I think you can find as high as 25-1 at a lot of places, actually. So I'll go with Mac Hollins, but I like the Austin Hooper call. I certainly like the Hunter Henry call. And I'm going to go with something kind of boring, like 23-20, which I'm sure is RJ, I was talking to you earlier in the week at down in Fort Lauderdale. I think that's a pretty common one that people are predicting, right, RJ?
When you open up a book, they let you do the sliders to pick your number, and it open default to 23-20. So they're this is where you start, and then you can move it from there.
Go ahead, Larry.
By the way, someone in the chat threw out Jack Westover anytime touchdown and first touchdown score. That's 120-1. I'm just getting it out there on record on video that if Jack Westover scores first, that is something that we should reference. And now you have major FOMO if you're not riding Jack Westover.
Do we have time for a quick story that's not betting related?
A quick one, yeah.
A quick one. Okay.
Well, Mike, go ahead first.
Oh, I was saying, do you want to finish the score predictions first?
Yeah.
And then
Yeah, go. Yeah.
Okay. Well, you guys both stole my thunder on Austin Hooper. I will say that. But I like Austin Hooper. I have to crack open. It's a sparkling water, but give you a little. Okay. So Tom Brady, we like to compare him to Drake Maye, right? A little bit. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Tom Brady led the Patriots to the Super Bowl in his second year in the NFL, and they won as underdogs with a final score of 20-17. That is my predicted score here, 20-17. Tom Brady was not good in that game at all. Threw for 145 yards, still won the MVP because he was the young quarterback that led him to the Super Bowl in improbable fashion. Don't bet anyone on the Patriots to win MVP other than Drake Maye. It is a narrative award. If they win the game, Drake Maye is your MVP unless he leaves in the first quarter with an injury.
I would say too, Mike. I think one of the things that when you think about the Super Bowl MVP, the way that the voting happens is there are 50 people who are given a ballot. They're in the press box. They are writing on deadline. They're doing this as like an additional, it's like a volunteer job, right? This is not something that they're like paid for. They're sitting back and that's all they're worried about. So if it is a really close game and it comes down to a last second thing, it is like you are rushing to just write down an MVP. And if it's a close game and the Patriots win, it is more than likely that they are just going to scribble down Drake Maye, hand in the ballot, and go get quotes after the game. So like that's just something to think about from the mentality of the voters.
It's funny you say that, Mike, because I was going to try to pitch Brinson on Garrett Bradbury 2001 and see what he said.
hey, look, Garrett Bradbury. I mean, I wouldn't rule it out. Garrett Bradbury, anytime touchdown.
I would rule anything out other than I think there should be absolutely zero difference in the price point of New England's money line and Drake Maye, the MVP, particularly after not getting the regular season MVP award. If they win, it's his. But yeah, back to Tom Brady. Several years ago, first trip to the Super Bowl in his second year. Drake Maye's in the second year. We know Tom Brady submitted the DNA shortly after that game that he won. I'm just saying Drake Maye, he may do the exact same thing here. I will be sprinkling the exact score. Patriots 20, Seahawks 7.
Now I have to be in on that too. Okay, Larry, quick story, and then Danny, you're going to close this out.
2018, my buddy is going to his parents' apartment complex in Florham Park, New Jersey. His little girl gets out of the car and scratches a beautiful new car and left a really bad mark on a beautiful car. He leaves a note saying, my daughter did this. Please call me. I want to take care of it. Doesn't get a call for like 4 days, then gets a call from a private number. And the guy says, hi, I got your note. No need. I'll take care of it. He's like, no, I saw it. It was a really bad scratch. He said, well, my name is Sam. I just got drafted by the Jets. I can take care of it. Don't worry about it. And this guy who's a huge Giants fan says, Sam Darnold, he's like, I live for the Giants, but I'm going out right now to buy your jersey for my kids.
Oh, it's awesome.
That's amazing. How come we haven't heard this story before, Larry? This is an incredible
just heard
story.
it yesterday.
Oh, okay. I thought you were carrying this story with you for years and you just sprung it just now. All right. That's a really, really good story. Hand up before we get to Brasco. Did we miss anything major, gentlemen and lady? I don't think so. We covered so much. I mean, we went a little bit longer than we wanted to. By the way, I think this gets turned into a podcast. So if you want, and you can listen to the live show back, but also on the Early Edge podcast feed. Make sure if you have a friend that wants to listen to this, certainly send the podcast to them. Make sure they follow, subscribe, rate, review, all those things. Danny Brasco, you said you had something to say, and it was about me. So, of course, I want to close the show with something about me. So, please, you've got the floor.
Let's go, Sia. I knew that would secure me the spot. TD King, colleague of Meg, has been active in the chat, dropping picks. And at the beginning of the show, he shouted Sia out for his advocacy of mental health, for his injection of positivity every day. This is a long season, y'all. We show up here every day. We are blessed and privileged to talk about sports for a living, but don't get it twisted. This shit is exhausting, man. Excuse my language. I mean, we do it all the time, analysis, articles, reputation, money on the line. And Sia steering the ship with his positivity, with his message, it makes it a pleasure to come to work every day. And I'm sure everyone in the chat appreciates it too. So thank you so much for leading the charge, Sia. You're the man, and I'm very grateful to work with you and everyone.
I really appreciate that. I don't know how to follow that up. That is, thank you, Danny. And listen, we talk about it on the show a lot. We have the picks, we have the analysis. Sometimes we have good recap screens, sometimes we don't. But we also want you to come here for the vibes and for the energy and maybe to start your morning and your day off in what we think is the proper way, with some laughs, with some picks, with some analysis, some analytical and critical thinking, all of those things. We try to just put it all together and make it a great experience. And certainly with this crew and the rest of the SportsLine crew, I feel like we do that every single day. And I can promise you this, we certainly try to do that every single day. And that's all we can do. Will, what's funny?
Somebody in the chat was like, please stop with the Chip Fridays. It's like,
no way. Never.
The best thing ever.
The funny thing is, like, if people who don't know like Chip Patterson in real life, Chip is would not be at the top of the list for people I would expect to be giving a Friday hype speech. Like Chip is so low key and casual, and so I love the energy on Fridays. Like the big Chip Friday, man.
I mean, there's always one. There's always like one or two that's like, oh, no, I don't like that. And then meanwhile, the thousands of others are like, I can't wait for BPE, Chip Me Up Friday.
You know what they say in broadcasting, you're either loved, you're hated, or you're nobody. So Chip's doing a great job.
Certainly loved, more than hated. All right, more chips, says Jeff Stenberg. These are the picks. Wow, look at Ben. We probably should have had Ben on the show. We kind of have run out of time here. I would love Ben's opinion as well, but Ben has set us up with this recap screen. I'm not going to read all of these out because it's probably a little too much, but you can see all the picks here from me, from Meg, from Larry Hartstein, from Mike McClure, RJ White, Danny Brasco, and Will Brinson. We're going to get out of here, folks. It's been a great football season, but listen, it's always sports and betting and early edge season. So we'll see you tomorrow at 10 o'clock on the early edge. So much content coming your way. A big thank you to Larry, Brasco, Will Brinson, RJ White, Meg Shoup, Mike McClure, and of course, Ben on the 1s and 2s and 6s and 7s. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll see you very soon. Actually, tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock, like we always do on the early edge. But for now, enjoy the Super Bowl. Enjoy some of the golf outrights. You know, we got some golf stuff going on right now. Let's go, Matt McNeely. Doesn't matter. We're talking Super Bowl right now. Have a great day. Enjoy your Sunday. We'll see you tomorrow at 10 o'clock in the morning. We rest our case.